here's another movie that I didn't see. Oh my goodness. This drops on Shudder August 18th. It's a movie called Glorious. This is one of these movies that has, with a title called Glorious, if it's not good, there could be a lot of really mean things to say about how unglorious or not glorious this movie is. I think it's set in a bathroom stall. Eric, how does this movie go? What's the plot line? Can you tell our listeners a little bit about this glorious film on Shudder?
Bruce, how much of this should I talk about? Because I think a lot of this is kind of discovery, but at the same time, it's hard to.
The basic situation could be discussed, like who is in the restroom. I think the basic concept of what's in the restroom, but maybe not what it's doing.
Can I try this? Exactly. Can I do this? Let me try this, okay?
All right.
What's that?
Okay, after a bad breakup, Wes, played by Ryan Kwanten, he ends up at a remote rest stop miles away from civilization. His situation worsens after he finds himself locked inside the bathroom with a mysterious figure speaking to him from an adjacent stall. That mysterious figure is played by J.K. Simmons, so a lot of it is set in the bathroom stall. So that's what this official plot synopsis is. Eric Holmes, I interrupted.
There you go. And then watch the movie. That's enough said. This is actually, so Bruce saw this movie first and he sold it to me as a comedy. I did not get comedy out of it. There's like a couple jokes that don't land for me, but this did not roll as a comedy at all. Bruce obviously thinks differently.
Yeah, I laughed a lot at this movie. But wrong side.
Yeah, but this movie was really great. I loved where it went. The J.K. Simmons, it's basically the guy in one stall and J.K. Simmons in another stall. You never see J.K. Simmons. All you see is this glory hole in the taped up in the bathroom stall. It's just like a two-hander, which they had top 5 two-handers in Force 5 podcast this week. So go check that out. Maybe this would have been in the
which I messaged him. I said this would be on your list now, I think.
Yeah, but it's basically him and J.K. Simmons talking and getting kind of it becomes like a psychological thing, and it goes places that I won't get into, but it's really good movie and starts off pretty interesting and just gets more so as it goes on. And really at its heart, it's just two people talking to each other, but the stuff they talk about is really deep and insightful. And they throw in to Bruce's point, they do throw in a couple of jokes. I think the jokes are kind of misplaced in this because I do like smoking too much weed. Hey man, was life mean, man? Like the conversations they have, like really got into. So when they had the weird kind of low-hanging fruit jokes that I would do, it kind of threw it off for me. But the movie was so good that I just let that roll off.
Eric, the movie runs 80 minutes. Did it go by fast for you? Is there too much bloat, or did it roll for you? Okay.
This is gonna sound bad. It felt longer, but in a good way. It felt epic to me. Two people, you're thinking two people talking in a bathroom. How does that feel epic? Well, just watch it and you'll figure it out. But yeah, this is really high recommend.
Okay, Eric said, Bruce, that it felt epic. Was this movie epic to you? Because you like the humor a little bit, the misplaced humor, which Eric was saying a little bit more than he did. So that might be a little bit of a slight disagreement, but I think you guys are kind of on the same train as both you guys really enjoyed it. Am I correct on that regarding this movie?
Yes. And I would agree that it is epic. This is like definitely the most epic restroom two-hander that's ever existed. I was going to call this my dinner with, but I can't say what the thing would have been, so I'm not going to reveal that. This is a great movie. This is really, I think for genre fans especially, but even for non-genre fans, this is really how you use a limited setting and a genre story to the most effect. I mean, they use the setting in about every way you could use the setting, and then some ways you might not have even suspected. There's a little backstory stuff in this that slowly gets revealed as the movie goes along, which paid off in a way that I did not see coming, and I loved the way that paid off as well. I'm not sure what Eric thought of it, but the payoff, there's a character payoff that's really excellent, but there's also some just epic payoffs that are really excellent in this. This is one of those movies where it's like, they better do this, and then they do it. And they better do this, or I'm going to be upset if they don't do this. And they do certain things in this movie that you hope they'll do. But like he said, as at its core, it's essentially a dialogue between two characters. It's kind of funny because we just talked about The Immaculate Room, which is another thing, which is basically a dialogue between two people in a situation. Whereas I found this immensely more interesting to my brain, immensely more creative. This movie is so much more creative. This movie is more visual. This movie has moments that are like I thought were funny, but obviously you don't have to have that. There's a moment where mist is falling upon a character and there's music happening that I thought was absolutely enthralling. I couldn't believe that moment. And
you're really praising this movie, right?
Yeah.
You're mentioning
when that moment happened, I was like, oh my God, I love that so much.
Wow.
This is some for people who have Shudder. This is a no-brainer. You got to watch this movie. You're gonna like it.
Am I missing out really big on this?
Yeah, you are.
I also want to point out, like the Immaculate Room, one of the characters, I was really annoyed with how dense they were without giving anything away. There's parts where it's like, dude, come on, let's get your shit together. But I won't go any. It wasn't. Also, unlike the Immaculate Room, this wasn't two insufferable characters. It was one insufferable character and another. And J.K. Simmons, but that went away pretty quick. And also, I think the comedy thing's not entirely fair, just because Bruce is like, oh, this, like you sold it as a comedy, so when I'm watching it, I'm waiting for the comedy, and it never came. So that I blame Bruce for that. But
yeah, I'll take that.
So I guess the dumb question is when something is set in a bathroom stall, and then the stall next to you, and it's sort of some kind of voice, even if it's J.K. Simmons. Obviously, you guys have mentioned this in the review. What stopped me from watching this, other than obviously our schedules and everything, but I was thinking, how could you make it entertaining for 80 minutes within this?
You gotta watch it. Just watch it.
Yeah, this goes lots of places. Way more than you.
Me and Bruce are not. We haven't even touched on like 90% of what this movie is.
We haven't touched upon the basic character nature of J.K. Simmons.
Okay, this movie is directed by director, podcaster, and academic Rebekah McKendry, and she is the co-writer of the upcoming Bring It On, Cheer or Die. How does this? Are you guys
cool?
Yeah, are you guys excited to see? I always ask this, like, is this one of these filmmakers that you just throw a whole bunch of money with a good story and you can? This is kind of because you guys are praising this. Do you think she has a really bright future if she finds that right outlet with a studio, or do you think you're going to be so excited if she continues on this lane she's on right now?
I honestly don't think she needs that much money.
Yeah, it's really good.
And I can say no more, but she clearly doesn't need that much money.
This feels to me like almost like young Sam Raimi with limited budget, and what Sam Raimi was able to pull off with a limited budget in a pretty much one setting. Just let her make whatever ideas she has, but don't give her $100 million. Just give her $10 million.
$10 and she'll make a movie that looks like $100 million.
There you go.
Okay, so that is glorious. I guess this is one of these movies that should have probably been in theaters as well. But the good news is it's streaming on Shudder, debuts on Shudder, premieres on Shudder on August 18th. First off, Eric Holmes, what is your rating on Glorious?
So the problems I have with it probably won't be problems when I watch this again for the 300th time, because I will watch this a bunch more times. I'll give it like a 4.5 now, but that half star is going to come back, I'm sure.
Okay, cool. 4.5 stars from Eric Holmes. Bruce, your rating on Glorious?
Exactly the same, 4.5, and probably exactly the same. It'll probably go up. I feel like this is one of those movies that's going to become, you say cult favorite. I think it'll just become a genre favorite for a lot of people.
Yeah.